All right, now, with this presentation, we'll focus on the forces behind the rise in privatized prisons and the new voter ID laws, okay? Number one, we're going to deal with, we'll learn about the entities that are behind the new voter ID laws that will lead to voter suppression, all right? And when I put this presentation actually came about some months ago. It was an episode of one of my shows. And I was familiar with a lot of the entities that I'm talking about in here, but in gathering information, preparing to do my show, and getting some video clips. I have a clip from Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton, I'm going to show you. Over a period of months, gathering more and more information, and then with the push for the voter suppression through the new voter ID laws, things like that, it evolved into this presentation. Okay. Number two, to understand why there is a push for more privatized prisons and who's behind this. Number three, to understand how groups like ALEC, how many people are familiar with ALEC? American Legislative Exchange Council. Anybody familiar with ALEC? Okay, now you had the presentation, Dave, you should raise your hand. Did you see this presentation I did? No. Oh, okay. Okay, ALEC. Okay, ALEC is affecting your life, okay? And when I did this presentation, I did it at Nandy's, and there was about 50 people there for that presentation. And 95% of the people, they were not familiar with ALEC, CCA's, Corrections Corporation of America. Okay. They're one of the largest providers of privatized prisons in the country. I'm gonna share some information about Corrections Corporation of America. A lot of people were not familiar with them. So I was really shocked, but it was good that I did a presentation because it enlightened a lot of people. All right, number three, to understand how groups like ALEC and Corrections Corporation of America are behind harsher prison sentences and why. Number four, what's the relationship between the Billionaire Koch Brothers and the Tea Party? How many people are familiar with the Koch Brothers? KOCH. Now, contrary to popular belief, because I know there's a sister on the Times During the Morning Show, she's about to boycott Coca-Cola because she thought the Koch brothers owned Coca-Cola. No, it's a different type of Coke. All right, but the Koch brothers, the Koch family, not just the Koch brothers, but going back to their father, they have been influencing politics and elections for decades. And it wasn't until the rise of the Tea Party in about 2010 that people started finding out about them, because they've been operating underneath the radar. Okay, and I'm gonna get into that and I have some articles, because all the things I talk about, I have articles to back this thing up. Okay, I deal with the evidence. And anybody's been to my presentations, they know you need to bring a pen and pad to take notes, because I have a ton of information. Okay. And also number five, to understand how the prison industrial complex is 21st century slavery. Okay, how many people are familiar with the book The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander? How many people are familiar with this book? Okay, excellent book. She's also in the new Hidden Colors HC 2012. She's in there also. So I have a video clip from her. I'm actually reading the book now, and it's a fantastic book, a lot of information in here. And I've seen interviews with her. I've read excerpts of the book, but I actually bought it last weekend. All right, now, whenever I do my presentations, I know there's going to be some information that I talk about that may be outside the circumference of someone's awareness. It may be the first time that you've heard this, okay? But there's not a problem with that. Growth, the only time growth occurs is when you step outside your comfort zone and learn things that you don't already know, all right? So I usually have people put their fingers together to form a circle, and I learned this from Dr. Ray Hagins. How you brothers doing, you all right? And I used to say something like this: the space inside this circle represents my realm of knowledge. Everything that I think I know about whatever I think I know is represented within the circumference of this circle. I must keep in mind that there are still things to know that exist outside the circumference of my own awareness. Okay, so the reason why I say that is because oftentimes when somebody learns something that contradicts what they've been taught or what they believe, they automatically reject it without doing any research to determine the validity of the new information that they're gathering. And at the same time, they usually don't use that same level of scrutiny to analyze or critique what it is that they think they already know. Okay? So whenever I do these presentations, this is for the media's delivery destruction. That is actually a 3-part presentation, which is a total of 12 hours. Okay? So these are just some of the notes for that presentation. I have hundreds of articles. I do extensive research. Okay, so this is not a game. This is serious. For this presentation here, this is my folder for my notes, and then I have videos to accompany this. This is just a lightweight presentation. Okay. These presentations, I do them for 2 reasons. And number one, I tell people you don't have to believe a word that I say. All right. Number one, I do the presentations to make you think. Because if I can make you think, then that causes you to start asking questions. If you start asking questions, you start seeking out answers. You can put the circle down now, brother. Okay. All right. And number two, to provide the information, the history, the sources, the books, the websites, the articles, etc., for you to do your own research. Because I provide all that in the presentation. And I tell people, don't take my word for this. Please go do your own research. We need to have libraries in our homes. If we can have 2 and 3 game consoles, we can have a PlayStation and an Xbox and things like this, and all these video games, and iPods, things of this nature. We need to have libraries in our home. This article here, The Hidden History of ALEC and Prison Labor. Okay, this is from thenation.com, August 1st, 2011, written by Mike Elk and Bob Sloan. You can pull this up on the internet. Okay, The Hidden History of ALEC and Prison Labor. Let me get that just a second. I want to go through this quickly here. This is also from ALEC's website. What is ALEC? At the meeting in September 1973, state legislators, including then Illinois State Representative Henry Hyde, conservative activist Paul Rayrick, who was the founder, and Lou Barnett, a veteran of then Governor Ronald Reagan's 1968 presidential campaign, together with a handful of others, launched the American Legislative Exchange Council. Among those who were involved with ALEC in its formative years were Robert Caston and Tommy Thompson of Wisconsin, John Engler of Michigan. Wasn't John Engler governor of Michigan? John Engler of Michigan was one of the founders of this, okay? And he was governor for 4 terms, right? Okay. Terry Branstad of Iowa, and John Kasich of Ohio, all of whom moved on to become governors or members of Congress. Congressional members who were active during this time, who were active during the same period, included Senators John Buckley of New York and Jesse Helms of North Carolina. We've heard a lot about Jesse Helms. And Congressman Phil Crane of Illinois and Jack Kemp of New York. Now this is from ALEC's official website, alec.org. Okay, you can go check this stuff out. So we have to do some background research on these various entities. And when you see campaign ads, if you go on YouTube, I think some of those campaign ads you can still find. Like you'll see campaign ads for the Heritage Foundation. Look them up, find out what they're about. American Crossroads, things like this. These are some of these right-wing organizations that have these organizations behind them. Okay. Now in this, let me see. Okay. All right. Now this article, I'm going to share a little bit of this with you. This shows the relationship between ALEC and the prison industrial complex. And the best way to understand ALEC, it's a nonprofit organization, number one. And it's an organization that connects state senators or representatives to corporations. It puts them together, allows them to connect with one another, okay? And what happens is the corporations can push for the type of legislation they want, things like this, by making campaign donations to the state legislators, all right? Now, in this article, it says, ALEC helped pioneer some of the toughest sentencing laws on the books to date, like mandatory minimums for nonviolent drug offenders, three strikes law, 3 strikes and you're out, and the truth in sentencing laws. In 1995 alone, ALEC's Truth in Sentencing Act was signed into law in 25 states. Then State Representative Scott Walker, okay, now who's Scott Walker? Anybody know who Scott Walker is? He's the governor of Wisconsin right now. I'm going to get into Wisconsin in just a minute. Then State Representative Scott Walker was an ALEC member when he sponsored Wisconsin's Truth in Sentencing laws. Now the Truth in Sentencing laws is basically meaning that the prisoner has to serve like the majority of their sentence before they can be set free. In the past, you had a lot of them set free early because of overcrowding. Okay, but the Truth in Sentencing laws was put in place to keep that from happening, so that they can get more prison labor out of the prisoners. Okay, and make more money off of them. Okay, 3 strikes laws and truth in sentencing laws. In 1995 alone, ALEC's Truth in Sentencing was signed into law in 25 states. Then State Representative Scott Walker was an ALEC member when he sponsored Wisconsin's Truth in Sentencing law. And according to PR Watch, which is a public news publication, PR Watch, used its statistics to make the case for the law. More recently, ALEC has proposed innovative solutions to the overcrowding it helped create, such as privatizing the parole process through the quote, proven success of the private bail bond industry, end quote. Now, before this article, I had never heard about privatizing the probation process. Okay, I never heard about that, or the bail bond industry. I never heard about that. Okay, but they're talking about doing that also. And they recommended this back in 2007. The American Bail Coalition is an executive member of ALEC's Public Safety and Election Task Force. ALEC has also worked to pass state laws to create private for-profit prisons, a boon to two of its major corporate sponsors, Corrections Corporation of America, which we're going to get into in just a minute, and Geo Group, formerly known as Wackenhut Corrections. See, Wackenhut changed their name, okay? The largest private prison firms in the country, Corrections Corporation of America and Wackenhut, which is not Geo, they're two of the largest for-profit operators of prisons in the operators of prisons in the country, okay? And in these times investigation, that's another publication, in these times investigation last summer revealed that ALEC arranged secret meetings between Arizona state legislators and CCA, Corrections Corporation of America, to draft what became Senate Bill 1070, Arizona's notorious immigration law, to keep CCA prisons, Corrections Corporation of America's prisons, flush with immigrant detainees. See, they're behind all this stuff. We have to see what happens is, a lot of people are under the impression that the politicians control everything. No. These are forces behind the politicians which legally influence what happens, okay? So we have to understand this and explain this to our children. Now what I'm going to do, like later on in the presentation, I'm going to show a clip. How many people have heard about the documentary How to Make Money Selling Drugs, starring 50 Cent and Eminem? How many people have heard about that? I've shown clips. I've shown the trailer before at some of my other presentations. I just got it like in the last 2 months, okay? But I'm going to show that, and when I first found out about this, I read an article by Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I read the article, watched the trailer, and I talked about it on my show, and I said, is this somehow some covert attempt, or maybe an overt attempt, to lure more African-American men into the prison industrial complex? Because one of the things they talk about in the trailer, in the 2-minute trailer, they talk about how you can make $200,000 or $300,000 a day selling drugs. They talk about how you have a 6-figure starting bonus, 6-figure signing bonus in the $400 billion exciting drug industry. Okay, they say all this in the trailer. Okay, so we're going to get into that also.